Welcome back, everyone. The Samsung Galaxy S21 FE just officially came out, so let's compare it against the iPhone 13 and see which one is the better one for the dollar. Now, the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE, I think I paid $699 for it. The iPhone 13 was about $100 more than that, so definitely a little bit more expensive here. But both are great phones, and you can't really go wrong with either one. But I mean, do you like Android? Go for the Galaxy S21 FE. Do you like iOS? Go for the iPhone 13. Now, side by side, I will leave both these linked down in the description, by the way. Get them from there, help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can actually see that the iPhone 13, a little bit of a smaller phone. You have a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel, no 120 Hz, you still have the notch, but it's still a pretty good looking panel. I've had very few complaints with it throughout my whole entire life, and I still think it looks pretty good for the most part. The Galaxy S21 FE, on the other hand, has a bigger 6.4-inch dynamic AMOLED display, 120 Hz hole punch display too, but I do think the iPhone 13 panel looks kind of sharper and more warmer, which is something I like. The S21 FE panel looks a little bit cooler, but it does have the 120 Hz panel, which makes this thing look so much better in my opinion. So in terms of that covers it up there. In terms of the thinness and thickness, to be honest, they are almost roughly the same exact thing. It's kind of freaky. They're both almost flat-sided, so the iPhone 13's panel is a little bit flat. It seems more flatter, but the S21 FE also looks pretty good. Lightning port at the bottom, USB Type-C on the S21 FE, and on the back we have a little bit of a different setup as well. So we have an iPhone 13 glass back, but the Galaxy S21 FE actually has a plastic back on it, which makes no sense to me at all. I like the iPhone 13, it definitely feels more premium, although the chassis of the S21 FE feels really good too. You have a dual camera setup on the iPhone 13, you have a triple camera setup on the Galaxy S21 FE. Both of them have wireless charging. The S21 FE does have wireless charging though, both have IP certification and everything, and that really pretty much covers it up on the outside. There really isn't much more difference, between them. Now, a big thing I want to hit on is the longevity of them. The Galaxy S21 FE, it just came out, but it's going to be lasting pretty much the same amount of time as something like the Galaxy S21, and that phone is already a year old, has the same chipset inside as that phone as well, so it's pretty much going to be lasting as long as that device, which has its pros and it has its cons. In some ways, it's cool, but it's not going to be lasting as long as something as the iPhone 13, and that is kind of the biggest disadvantage here. The iPhone 13, even though it's an older phone than the S21 FE, it's going to be lasting longer than this phone, mostly and only because it has a newer chipset, it's running iOS, and unless Samsung increases their software again, the iPhone is going to win here. So it's probably going to last, in my opinion, twice as long as the Galaxy S21 FE, at least maybe like 2 or 3 years longer. So this one's probably getting 2 more versions of Android. It started off with the One UI 4, so that's already the latest version of Android. It's probably going to get One UI 5 and then One UI 6 and then it's done. This one is going to be lasting probably 2 or 3 years longer than that. So in terms of software and longevity, that pretty much covers it up there. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both these devices. The Galaxy S21 FE has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 chipset inside of it with 6 gigs of RAM on the base model, and it does go up to 8 gigs of RAM on the top tier models. The iPhone 13 has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster iPhone or phone between both of these. Okay, there we go. All the apps should be cleared out in the background, as you guys can see, these two here. I don't know why the Samsung Pay thing keeps coming up every 2 seconds. There we go. All the apps are cleared out, so let's get into it. Let's open up their phone calls. 3, 2, 1. Pretty much the same thing there. Hopping out of these two, kind of the same thing too. Let's get into their settings. 3, 2, 1. Kind of the same thing too. Swiping down here, kind of the same. Like, they both are giving me the same impression. It does look a little bit smoother here because of that 120 Hz panel. Hopping out of here, let's go and get into their app stores. 3, 2, 1. And we did get a little bit of a faster pop-up on the Galaxy S21 FE. That's something I've kind of noticed between both, that the S21's Androids do a really good job opening up the Play Store. Smoothness here, though, I'm not too sure why this one wasn't loading here. Kind of the same thing, too. I feel like the iPhone 13 is smoother in terms of loading, but the S21 FE looks a little bit... Actually, they both look kind of the same thing, so there's not a big difference here. Now, swiping between applications, let's go and swipe between both. And quite possibly they look kind of the same thing. I don't really think there's that big of a difference here for sure. Hopping out of these applications, let's go and get into something like some of these third-party applications that I have on both of these devices. So let's open up Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. Now there may be some random pop-ups that happen, so I'll go and kind of do my best to kind of quickly hop out of them. And this one did crash on the S21 FE, so I don't know why this game just constantly crashes on this specific device. It never makes any sense to me. This is like the 50th Samsung that's done this, so I guess we'll see what happens. And I guess it just crashed again, so there's not much we can do about it there. Let's go and get into Instagram. 3, 2, 1. Now I am logged in here, so I'll skip Twitter. 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone 13 was a little bit faster there. Hopping out of this one, let's go and get a Snapchat 321. I am logged in here, so that was going to add a little bit more, there too. So it's not a big deal there. Let's go into Fruit Ninja 321. And it does look like quite possibly the iPhone 13 was a little bit faster there. I guess we got into this new game update. The S21 FE a little bit behind it. Not a big deal though. At least it opened at that time. Quizlet 321. Almost the same thing. Maybe the iPhone 13 was faster, but they were both almost identical. Dropbox 321. iPhone 13 again is faster. Hopping out of this one, Bofa 321. I think the Galaxy S21 FE was faster there, but it seems like they were on two different applications. I don't really know what's going on there either. Let's go and get into Thank You 321. And the S21 FE was very fast there. The iPhone 13 was a little bit slower. Gameplay-wise, I think graphics are going to be roughly around the same. These games are pretty fast, Both these phones are very capable when it comes down to it. Hopping out of here, Snake vs. Blocks 321. And the S21 FE was faster. iPhone 13 a little bit behind. Gameplay-wise, this is a pretty basic game like I mentioned too, so I don't think it's going to be that crazy in terms of gameplay, but still very interesting. Hopping out of this one, let's go and get into Facebook. 3, 2, 1. I think I am logged in here, so I am, but still both pretty fast too. I guess the S21 FE was a little bit slower there. Now, I think in terms of both these phones, this was a pretty basic, comparison. I think I'll do a bigger one later, but I do think when it comes down to it, the iPhone 13 may be more stable. I did see the S21 FE beat the iPhone 13 more times. I think it was kind of 50-50. RAM management was kind of weird. The S21 FE kind of restarted that application, which makes no sense. So let's go back in the beginning once more. I didn't even load up those many applications. Let's go into the App Store. I'm not too sure what's going on with the S21 FE. Maybe that's the design of it. When it opens up an application, it looks like it closes out of it. I'm not too sure what's going on. So let's go and get into, I guess, Temple Run 2, which crashed here. So let's get into Twitter, which should be open on both. I don't see that. I think this one is the Twitter app. Okay, both restarted that. So both kept that one open. I'm not really too sure. I think both did great, but that pretty much covers up the speed comparison. Let's go and hit on the cameras. Now, like I mentioned, triple camera setup on the S21 FE, wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto lens. The iPhone 13 has that dual camera setup, wide and ultra-wide sensor. Now, both can do 4K at 60 on the back and the front, which is really cool. 12 megapixel front-facing camera on the iPhone 13, 32 megapixel front-facing camera on the S21 FE. Now, the camera on the iPhone 13 has always been great, as I mentioned before, and I do think this is still a very solid camera. I don't think there's much to complain about here, and I do think if you're somebody who's in the market for a very stable, solid iPhone with consistent quality, this is a very good option, and you can't really go wrong here. I'm excited to do a full camera comparison between these at some point to show you the differences, but this is a very solid camera for sure. Now, with something like the S21 FE, this is also a very good camera with, I think, a lot more features built in than the iPhone 13. This thing has a very solid camera. It's not as smooth as something like the iPhone 13, but as I've stated before, this is still a very solid camera. And if you need a camera that's going to get you from point A to point B with a bunch of features built in, you can't really go wrong with this one. I still think the Galaxy S21 obviously has the better camera, but this is not a bad option. And I'm actually really happy with the quality that I've been able to consistently get from this camera as well. So when it comes down to this camera, I'm a big fan of it for sure. Now, to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, I really don't know which one is the better camera here, or I don't know which one is the better phone here. I think both of them have their pros and cons. Maybe the iPhone 13 is the one I would still rather pick up. It seems to be the more consistent phone, and I do like having the longer supported device. This phone is really good. I've been having a really good time with it, and I don't really think there's much to complain about with the iPhone 13. On the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE, on the other hand, this is a very good phone for the price tag, but I just think it's a little bit too late. I think the S22s are about to come out very soon, so there really isn't a huge point to pick up this phone. I'd rather have the standard Galaxy S21, which is actually cheaper than this thing on Amazon. So it really doesn't make too much sense to pick up this thing. I do like it. I do think it's a great phone, and I've been having really good performance from this phone, even on my third channel videos. But I think the iPhone 13 is the one I would probably recommend buying, but the Galaxy S21 FE is very good. I think I would rather recommend getting the S22 once that comes out very soon. So in terms of that covers it up there. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.